Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Championship Check-In podcast with myself, Benjamin Bloom, and the great Sam Parkin on a weird and wonderful weekend in the Championship, Sam. We focused on relegation last time. We're going to look at promotion this time, but none of them won, which has been very rare because we've had all four of them win. We've had 3 out of the 4 of them win. We're talking Leeds, Sheffield United, Burnley, and Sunderland. Let's start last night with what I'll kind of politely describe as a tournament football playoff semi-final looking match between Burnley and Leeds that I think you were saying to me in the green room was going to be decided by the first goal, but the first goal never came and nobody wanted to lose the game. We'll get into the big picture, Sam, but can you just start off with last night? And I don't know in the end, given all the results, whether they'll both take the clean sheet, tick off the fixture and move on.
If ever we needed an early goal, that was the game. I mean, I set myself up with an early dinner. I was on the sofa with a cup of tea for the build-up, which is a rarity in my household. But I was there to watch Curtis Davies and Ben Mee and Joby McAnuff in all their glory, getting stuck into it. But it didn't deliver. I think it's, there'll be some football Puritans that will be really dismayed by that, and there'll be tactical whizzes and
they'll have loved it. Yeah,
really keen on that side of the game that would have enjoyed the chess match. I'm definitely the former. Definitely the former. I would have liked a little bit more attacking enterprise, but Burnley are what they are. They are superior than any team maybe I've seen at the level in terms of their defensive setup. So no surprises there. Just disappointed maybe that Leeds couldn't, show a little bit more quality in the final third. We know they've got the players, but again, Burnley are so good without the ball. I thought a couple of the opportunities for Fleming in the first half, the headers, and it was funny watching it play out because, actually last week at Argyle, he had a couple of opportunities to complete his hat-trick with headers and he just mistimed them. And for someone who's not 6 foot, he actually is really threatening in the air from deliveries from wide. So I think he just was a little bit maybe eager or a bit anxious to get the right connection, and he just didn't deliver in those couple of half chances in the first half. But yeah, fair result. Neither team did enough to win it, and I think Burnley, nothing's going to change. I think, like I said to you a few weeks ago, I think they're probably ahead of Sheffield United right now in terms of their automatic promotion challenge, and nothing's going to change in that regard unless they got catastrophic injuries that could maybe disrupt their back line. But at the moment, that is what they are. They will continue to win games and win games to 0.
So it was kind of as you were in the end, because Sheffield United put 0 points on with that strange game against Hull. But I was kind of framing it, Sam, as Chris Wilder has gambled a lot this year and won, and he gambled this time and lost. And Hull played it well, didn't they? Played the circumstances nicely. But if you'd have said to all the Sheffield United fans, you got that 0 on Friday night, by the way, everyone else is only going to add on 1 point. They'd have probably been, okay, that works out all right. Obviously, Sunderland succumbing to a late equaliser against Plymouth. That leaves us, Sam. Obviously, we've got this situation where Leeds and Sheffield United are actually on the same points per game, but because of the points deduction for Sheffield United, they're 2 behind. So they're both projecting just shy of 95 points, but obviously then you have to -2 off Sheffield United. Burnley are just short of that, 1.96. They're coming in around the 90-point mark, so all looking good for 3 teams over 90 points. Sunderland just a little further back, 86.94. As I said, Burnley and Leeds have now ticked off each other, and Sheffield United and Sunderland have ticked off each other because they went in those rounds where you played like 3 weeks apart. So there's only 3 head-to-heads left, Sam. There's Leeds, Sunderland, and Sheffield United Leeds, which are actually back-to-back for Leeds. So that's going to be absolutely massive at the end of February. And then we've got a nice one here, Sam. Burnley, Sheffield United, 21st of April as well. Just go big picture on me. What are you feeling about this run-in now? We're at round 30 coming up. How are you seeing it?
Well, I think Leeds, if we start with them, have got maybe quite a kind run-in. So I think, pivotal for them over the next month, 6 weeks, that they maintain their form as they are now. And if they can do that, then it's going to take something of a collapse. I think when I look at that run of fixtures latterly this season. So yeah, I don't think anything's going to change in that regard. It's probably whether Sheffield United can get back. And I know they've been winning games, but I think they've been winning games without being at their best and maybe of the form of the early part of the season. So I think the disruption has clearly been down to injury. There's going to be, I think, probably movement in the last few days of the window. But I just thought it was interesting looking at their bench the other day. Sousa, Raksaki, Campbell obviously coming on and having an effect. And also you throw into that, how quickly can Tom Cannon get up to speed, Brereton Diaz, how good are they going to be in the second half of the season with so much at stake? So they've definitely got the players. I suppose it's getting them all back fit and available. And Chris Wilder, he's going to shuffle the pack at times, but getting them into a cohesive unit in an attacking sense as well, because I think that's something that they struggled with early part of the campaign, where to play Hamer, where to play O'Hare, how to get Campbell in there, how to get the right balance. And now with, the luxury of having more players and better players in the squad, it may not happen overnight, but that's going to be intriguing to see. And I just see that disruptions maybe just hindered them in the last couple of weeks. And you would say, I don't know if you'd say the whole result was a bigger surprise or the Sunderland 2, Argyle 2. They were equally surprising, equally as frustrating, probably on a similar keel, I think, for Sheffield United supporters, despite them getting beaten and Sunderland getting a point out of the game. I think both sets of supporters, will be feeling equally
and the Sunderland
subdued.
fans, they knew Sheffield United had lost by Saturday as well, which is even more frustrating, isn't it, Sam?
Oh yeah. And yeah, I mean, people in the majority would have gone into the game seeing Argyle's away record, rightly so, seeing their result on Wednesday and expecting a handsome home win as we did. So listen, I probably felt throughout the season, and I'm sure you'd concur, that Argyle's results surely were going to improve a little bit on the road, or there's still time, for them to start picking up a few results, or at least being resolute on their travels. But I didn't anticipate it being at the weekend. So credit to them for a much better performance, for rallying till the end. And I suppose a few question marks about Regis Lebris, maybe tactically in this game. I've seen quite a lot of Sunderland supporters just saying maybe he got it a little bit wrong, and it was there to go and finish the game rather being a little bit conservative, given who the opposition were on the day.
He set the bar high, certainly. When it comes to Sunderland, Sam, they're now 5 points behind Leeds. And I say this a lot about Sunderland, and some of the fans get cross with me, and please don't. It's just keeping in touch, isn't it? And being in that pack. And it's 5 points up to Leeds. They don't want to let any of the four go to 6, 7, 8 points, because then it becomes kind of one place that you're playing for. But it does feel though, Sam, if when you look at what might happen in the latter stages of the transfer window, we think Leeds are set, and they'd probably be happy if no one comes in and no one comes out. Sheffield United they're definitely the ones who are going to move, and I think Burnley will do a couple of bits. Sunderland, you would think, are the ones most at risk of someone coming in with a big bid for a star player. It feels the other way around with Sunderland. They want to keep that team together for this title push, don't they?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to articulate why, you still have the other three as the front runners, because, having seen Sunderland recently, they're an excellent team with very few weaknesses. Maybe there's one or two areas where they could do with a little bit more strength in depth. You look at the goal threat of Leeds and Sheffield United now, and would you say that Sunderland had that equal goal threat? I'd say no. And I think that's probably an area they want to add. They've been unfortunate with injuries, of course, certain times of the season. And we're talking about a season where Burnley are just doing something unfathomable, something unprecedented, where they are just so good in terms of clean sheets and getting points accumulated that way by being just defensively ridiculous. Sunderland aren't that, but what they are is pretty good when everyone's fit. 2 really good fullbacks, great shot stopper in goal, 2 competitive centre halves, one of the best young players in the country, 2 best young players in the country in the midfield, and a sprinkling of talent in the wide positions and up front. It's a really well put together team. It's just, I don't know if it's because there's a few people that are maybe not as experienced in the Sunderland lineup as there are elsewhere, and it's that know-how, it's the familiarity with Daniel Farker and Chris Wilder and Scott Parker over Regis Lebris. But I tell you what, I'm a massive fan as the season develops and goes on. I really like the cut of his jib, and I would love nothing more than Sunderland to still be there in the automatic shake-up. But there's just something within me that thinks it's playoffs, and let's hope they can be competitive and maybe upset the odds in that regard.
This was the point where last season where, I know we've had the comparisons with Sunderland and Ipswich, going up against 3 parachute teams and powerful teams. This was the point in the season with Ipswich last year where the fine margins and everything being online started to work for it. The January signings all bedded in. They won games late on. It looked for all the world that everything was starting to flow for Ipswich. And you feel with Sunderland, they need to get that kind of crazy kind of fated momentum, don't they? But it's a great promotion race, Sam. And we invite your comments, particularly on those head-to-heads as well. Leeds face Sunderland and then go to Sheffield United. Burnley face Sheffield United April the 21st. Let us know.
That's the only one I'd be worried about being a bit of a stinker. Burnley, Sheffield United, maybe. The others, I'd be quite infused that there'd be some entertaining football and teams playing on the front foot and trying to win it. Burnley, Sheffield United, to me, like the return fixture. I think was that a 0-0? I think you're probably likely
2-0 Burnley, wasn't it? Just
2-0 was it?
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're probably likely to see no more than a goal, possibly if we're lucky in that one.
Yeah, I just can't fathom, Sam. I think we were looking at the record that Watford set a couple of years ago. It's like 30 conceded. So basically, Burnley could now concede 1 goal in every one of their remaining games and still break the record for the fewest goals conceded. I just can't fathom that they're not going to have a period where they have a 3-3 draw and then they lose 4-1. It just always seems to be the case. But there you go. Right, get in the comments on the automatics. Sam, I don't know how the hell you are going to frame this playoff race because... 1, it is absolutely wide open. And 2, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a massively high points total for 5th place, let alone for 6th place. So I'll quickly whack through the runners and riders. And we have these ridiculous situations where QPR have a good run and you have to take them seriously. Norwich win a couple of games and it's like, well, okay, they're not far off. Coventry win 3 games in a week and all of a sudden you're going... okay, now roll out a nice little 8 to 10 game run and you're looking good. So West Brom just changed manager. Middlesbrough kind of flaky. Blackburn on a bad run. Bristol City good at home, not so good away. Watford on a bad run and the Pozzos are about to Pozzo. Sheffield Wednesday, reasonably consistent actually. Norwich now have Sargent back and Sainz is coming back. Coventry short term. QPR. And then you're down to bloody Preston in 14, Sam. Can you frame this into a nice 3 or 4 minute answer? What on earth is going to go on here? It's wide open, mate.
Well, the reason that the question is of that ilk is because there's no one you'd hang your hat on at the moment at all. If we were speaking a week ago, maybe I could have made the case for QPR. I suppose the form team, if we're going back 5, 6, 7 games, unblemished, is Oxford, really.
Exactly, yeah.
Who... we wouldn't put in the same bracket as some of the teams that are more or less on the same points, whether that's snobbery or whether that's just because they've come up.
It's not snobbery, Sam. It's you can't just reflect everything on the league table and the amount of points. Oxford clearly don't have the squad that Coventry do, even though they're similar points. So we love what Oxford are doing, but it is absolutely not snobbery if we don't include them. No,
I mean, 10 points between 5th and 17th this morning, which sums it up brilliantly and is why people say, at this stage of the season, it feels every year the cliche is the Championship's the best league. Look at that. Someone could come from deep. so on and so forth. It's difficult to make a really strong case for it this morning for the reason I've already stated. Nobody is in incredible form. QPR have been, but obviously beaten by Sheffield Wednesday in a game which looked like it could have gone either way. That said, it looked like Nardi had another particularly good game for QPR. Kenneth Pyle hit the woodwork with a really good free kick not long before Michael Smith opens the scoring. So naturally, I don't think QPR fans will be too disheartened. It feels to me that the big movers have been Bristol City, and that's despite only winning.
They tend to just be stacking up points at home, Sam, and Scott Twine free kicks and things of that nature. But it was, I will give Bristol City their flowers. They beat Blackburn, so who they beat is significant.
Yeah, I think they've had 2 wins in their last 5, Bristol City, but obviously 5 wins in 6 have come at Ashton Gate.
Very good,
So they've been brilliant. I think they've only conceded the 2 in that time during the home games. One against QPR, which on the face of it looks like a decent point now, and obviously one against the ex-Vireman at the weekend. So they're going brilliantly at home, and who would not, if you're a neutral, want a team that consists of Mehmeti and Twine playing behind a striker?
Well, Sam, successful. If I may, you've been across this away-home strange statistic this season. So if everyone's away records are bad, you can get in the playoffs if you've just got the best home record this season, can't you?
Yeah, they're a big example of this. I suppose Pompey and Argyle, Watford. Yeah, I mean Pompey at the moment, far and away the best home team in the division. I think scoring the most goals at home, maybe over the last 4, certainly over the last 4, maybe even over the last 6. So they're incredible at home to the extent where, I digress a little bit, to the extent where they shuffled the pack against West Brom the other day with an eye on tonight's game against Millwall. That's how much focus they're putting on their home fixtures. So Bristol City obviously can achieve the goal by doing this, but yeah, they'll want to improve away from home. I think it's always been, and this is strange in the aftermath of Nahki Wells getting the winner, but I think it's always been about converting the chances into goals, having enough of a goal threat. Obviously, anyone who's seen me do anything over the last 5 years knows how much I love Scott Twine. And I think seeing him improve without the ball, we know his technical ability from range. We know that he can knock in a free kick, but it's about becoming a better team player as well for him to get consistent minutes in the Championship. So they've got Bird and Knight to give them a bit of stability. Him and Mehmeti still have to, hold their shape, still need to be decent without the ball, even though they're in there to essentially create. So I love those two. I think Mehmeti was the one who got shouted at us when we didn't include him in our teams of the season so far.
Fair comment, yeah.
Someone outside of the top 6. He's been in really good form. So, yeah, they're the team I'd highlight now. Blackburn on the flip side are having a really difficult run.
Can I pose this as a question to you, Sam? I look at it where you've almost got examples of managers that are doing really well, but good squads that could come past them. So I look at West Brom, Middlesbrough, Norwich and Coventry, and Norwich and Coventry are lower down and could come up as really good squads. And then I look at really good managerial performances from Blackburn and Watford and Sheffield Wednesday and QPR. Surely in the end, the squads win out in those situations, don't they? And the likes of maybe Norwich and Coventry just float up as we go. Am I right about that? I mean, I don't know whether I am or not.
Yeah, I think there's something in that, because if you think of John Eustace, for example, if he had a better caliber squad, we'd be sitting here a lot more confident, or was given some more tools during the window, we'd be a lot more confident about them maintaining the form. I think a big problem for them is, Brereton Diaz and Szmodics were so good in, mediocre Championship squads, maybe, if that's fair, across the last year. And also when you take out Travis, I think at the moment, Tronstad as well, there's clear injury problems, and he's looking towards Gay, who scored 2 goals off the bench this season. Ahashi scored 1 goal since, I think, the autumn. Vireman obviously got 1 the other day, but you haven't got, a plethora of goal scoring threats. So I think that's a big issue for them. And I think the squad's probably not as deep as the others. So I would concur with that. And then you look at Norwich with Sargent back. I didn't think it was a brilliant performance, but when you've got him in the side,
Swansea were helpful opponents in that last 20 minutes, weren't they? Bless them.
Yeah, Josh Key's been brilliant for them, hasn't he? And made a few high-profile mistakes in the last few weeks. And maybe that's what Norwich were. I don't know. Norwich were impressive early part of the season, and they've obviously been hugely disrupted by
Can you
injury.
not see Norwich winning 7, drawing 1, and losing 2 in like a 10-game period and scoring a ton of goals as well?
Yeah, I can do. I think that exemplifies what they can be the other day. And the likes of Cianach, who has had to play a lot of football for a young lad. I think he's 19, is he not? He's certainly very, very young. Coming into the championships, had to play a lot in the absence of Sarge and one or two others early part of the season. So he's a huge difference maker. I think rewind 6 months, and me and you probably would have had Sargent at the top of the goal scoring charts, no question. So he's worth absolutely some points on his own to Norwich. Coventry, it seems to be consistency, changing system, midfield's being a little bit reconfigured. Looks like Radoni's got a huge part to play now centrally, and obviously Torp was the man the other day with a couple of goals. So in the absence of Sheaf, I think Eccles has been left out. Thomas Asante and Sims seems to be a decent partnership. Back three as it is now.
Your mate Grimes on the way.
That's my next line. Obviously, anyone again who's watched this show before knows about the debut that I waxed lyrical about. Matt Grimes' debut at Exeter, one of the best debuts I've ever seen from a young player. I knew from that moment that he was destined to go on and be a regular feature in someone's first team, higher up the food chain. But maybe the time's right. Maybe the time's right there. He's very settled by all accounts. I think I read his Instagram post, I think yesterday, about he's got 3 children, all born in Wales. Obviously been there a decade. It's going to be a wrench for him to leave, but maybe this is the time with Swansea a little bit in freefall.
And if you're a central midfielder, you might want to enjoy going and playing for Frank Lampard as well, mate.
I think Luke Williams would be someone that is brilliant to play for, and especially when you've got the responsibility that Matt Grimes has got within that squad and the trust of everyone. And in essence, he's the most, he's the captain, but he's the most important player because everything goes through him, especially if Swansea want to pass the football. But yeah, the opportunity to go to another big club in Coventry, a potentially massive club, that has now got one of the greatest players of the last 20 years in this country in charge, who probably would put a similar amount of trust in him. That's got to be tempting. And, he could be a really important piece in the jigsaw for Frank Lampard. Maybe not this season, not ruling it out. They've won 3 on the spin after all. And I've just spoken about the lack of teams that are putting back-to-back wins together. So I can see that being tempted without any inside knowledge. And I'd be sad for the Swansea fans because it just feels a little bit of a mess there at the moment.
It does, doesn't it? Right. If you can unpick that in the comments, then please do. It is a mass throw a blanket over 10 teams. Let us know your thoughts on the playoff chase, and it's going to be a really interesting one. I know a few people are like, oh, come on, guys, the top 4's locked in. This is not going to be interesting. We know the top 4 is. Well, certainly going to be interesting in the rest of the table. Sam, let's round out this Championship Check-In podcast with the quiz. Would you like to ask your question first, or would you like to answer your question first?
I'll ask you first, if that's okay.
Okay, can I bring the table up?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey.
Going to struggle.
You might need the games rather than the... I'll give you the table. That makes it slightly tougher when you hear this. Okay, so Can you name the 5 goalkeepers who made the most saves this weekend, Friday and Saturday only? So that is ruling out, obviously, Burnley against Leeds last night. Was there a Sunday game?
There wasn't any shots, mate.
Was there a Sunday game?
No, there wasn't, was there? No.
Okay, so 3 guesses only, 3 points on offer.
Sorry, who faced the most shots who made the most saves?
The 5 goalkeepers who made the most saves this weekend.
So I reckon the Plymouth keeper in the Sunderland game had to do a lot. Who is it? Grimshaw?
Yeah, he's not there.
Oh, damn. What about... I know Pompey had a bit of a nightmare. didn't they? What about Pompey's keeper, who is called Jensen?
Schmid.
Schmid. Who's Jensen play for? Millwall, for God's sake.
Millwall,
Sorry.
yeah. He's there. Schmidt is there with 5.
How many more guesses do I get?
Got one more guess. So you got yourself 1 point.
I'm going to go with the same logic then. Swansea took an absolute pasting, but maybe all the shots went in. Vigouroux.
He's not there. He's not there. So you got 1 out of 3. The list is from top to bottom. Zetterstrom, Derby made 7 saves. Blimey.
Who did they play?
Cardiff.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Anik at Cardiff made 5. So that's 12 goalkeeping saves.
Entertaining game.
Yeah. Pompey 5. We've had Johansson at Stoke 5. And
he does it every game, doesn't he, Johansson?
And Nardi, who I did mention.
Oh, you bloody love Nardi, don't you?
4 saves for Nardi, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't give a big up to Fev, who provides our questions every week. Sorry, Fev. Fev's Football, Fev's Football Analytics. Sam,
yes.
This is a good one. Can you name the 5 scorers who got their first goals for their club over the weekend? 3 guesses. So the first goal, and obviously we've got some new players arriving in the January window, haven't we? So, get the table up. We'll allow that. 3 guesses only, 3 points on offer. So first goal.
Well, I've got 2 straight off the bat. I definitely Crooks at Hull.
I'd love to do it won't draw any numbers on YouTube. I'd just love to get you to explain Matt Crooks to me. And what
I'm just
interesting player he is. Anyway, sorry, Crooks definitely. Yeah.
Well, let me just tell a quick story. I remember probably the first time, one of the first times I ever saw Matt Crooks. He was playing holding midfield for Scunthorpe in the flesh. This was, I think I've maybe played against him previously, but he's playing holding midfield, and he was pinging the ball around like a quarterback. Beautiful range of passing, little subtle ones, little raking 30-yard passes to wingers' feet. You know, he's a real talented footballer. And I think at Middlesbrough, certainly, he just became someone...
Finisher. Get in the box and
marauding into the box, 1 and 2 touch. Like, not a lot of guile in his game. He's a good footballer, a really good footballer. Maybe that was...
I just had him pegged as a just get in the box and finish.
No, he's decent. I think that may be just because of his physical size, and he plays.
And that was his job at Rotherham as well, wasn't it?
Plays a little bit higher up. You know, maybe that's taken over from what a good technical footballer is. But yeah, that was shown the other day. I'm going to need your help here, mate, because I've got the 3, but I'm just not going to remember the names. Okay, so it's the Pompey Australian striker who is begins with W.
Think of the brilliant actress in Ted Lasso, Hannah.
Oh, I don't know her.
Thomas Whittingham. Whittingham, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one is the Derby centre forward, who I did commentate on last week.
I'll give you the points if you just have a guess at a random Scandinavian name.
I've got it. I think is it Salverson.
That's very good, Sam. That's annoyingly good. Lars Jorgen Salverson.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The others were Nat Ogbeta for Plymouth.
I wouldn't have got that
for the club. And Lewis Dobbin for Norwich. He's obviously on loan. That was a tricky one. So I think you won it this week, didn't you?
You think? 3-1, mate. That's a landslide.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, mate, I'm just trying to keep up with everything. You won it, Sam. I'll give you the credit, matey. Let us know how you went in the comments with that one. We're going to film the predictions now. So in your world watching this on YouTube, they'll come out tomorrow, but we're about to film them. So get your comments in and your thumbs up on the Championship Check-In podcast. Sam will be back next week for another one of these shows, but you'll be able to see us on the predictions tomorrow.